If you thought robots that could hit perfect free throws was impressive, bipedal robots can now slam dunk. I spent way too long looking at obscure gears. Look, logarithmic spiral gears, hypoid gears, even helicon gears. What does the future of AI in gears look like? It's gonna be a new paradigm. The party pastime whip Jenga is now the domain of the robot. LTX Studios put together a completely AI-generated story about a test monkey that has quite the twist at the end. There's a new AI model that if you give it a photo of a rock or a cliff face, it can tell you the best way to scale it. There's a new framework called Video Jam that makes much better AI-generated motion and video. NASA's using artificial intelligence to optimize the way it scoops up dirt on other planets. There's a new AI-generated method that can be on cell phone towers to make sure that you never drop a call in the future. New government partnership means that OpenAI's O1 model is going to be tackling diseases, high-energy physics, and nuclear security. Fellow YouTuber Cleaner Watt is going to break down why Tesla's Optimus robot could bring in $10 trillion in revenue. Bobby Ivar uploaded what I would consider the most impressive video of 2025. He legit made a 3D version of the original Nintendo Mario. It's amazing. AI is being applied to the Aurora Borealis, and that's going to give us some predictions for solar storms, so it's way more useful than that. This is Omni-Human 1, and it's got some really impressive results. Fascinating interview with the CEO of Suno. Breaks down why music is made with transformers instead of diffusion models. We're going to talk about a weird post that got me rethinking the way advertising is going to work in the age of agents. And there's some new research how AI is reshaping our memory. For the better? All right, this is Robot, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant all wrapped into one robotic form factor. Bipedal, all that motion is coming from the ankles and the calves and the thighs, and that is a leg-only jump, and it looks crazy human. Look at the way it swings its arms like that. Just not perfect, but so much more human than the stuff we were seeing last year. Oh, and we teach them how to flop, then they can join the NBA. I mean, there's got to be some reason why the ratings are down. All right, look at all these advanced gear types. Even though this post isn't strictly AI, it made me realize that if you took all of these gears and you fed them into a model, it could learn about gears. And AI might just invent some of the most unusual, organic, wonky, weird-looking gear types out there, but they could unlock like a whole new engineering world. I mean, imagine getting something like Grimlock to truly move the way a dinosaur would, because so many little servos in there and actuators are just like turning the way muscles would inside of a real bone and body. I mean, the double helical bevel gear is nothing. Or that one, the hyperbolic daggle gear. What the heck is that thing? I low-key want to go back in time and invent these first. I know. Could you imagine if you could time travel and the one thing you bring back are these gears and you show them to like the ancient Romans and they're like, wow, this is an engineer. Now, if you spend most of your weekends with your friends holding whips and playing Jenga, thinking that's the last thing robots are ever going to do, you are wrong. Thanks to UC Berkeley, there is a robot that can now do the task that is known as Jenga whipping. A hobby that was once pursued by people, I guess, that I've never heard of, can now be done by a robot with a 100% accuracy rating. I'm guessing when Jeff Bezos and OpenAI invested in the company, they expected this just to be a step along the way, not the final thing that they did. But there's no doubt that's a very impressive feat. And you know what else is impressive? This video has a sponsor. And it's a friggin' powerhouse of a company, Light Tricks. They make LTX Studios. They have sponsored 15 videos. First off, check out this video. It is called Charlie's Big Launch. It's on LTX Studios' YouTube channel. And it really shows off how just prompting individual images with character consistency can make a real story.
And then the big day arrived.
10.
My heart was racing.
9.
My hands were shaking.
1. Launch.
And just like that, I was flying. Beyond that door was my dream. And it literally sucked. And it got worse.
Okay, this is my first project. It is called Dino and Tiger's Quest. You can imagine why. You know, it's Hobbs and Grimlock. So at the core of this product is the storyboard layout, and this is what makes it so much more interesting than just those basic prompt-to-video AI models. What you want with a story is an actual story. You want character consistency, you want scenes that make sense, you want stories to have arcs that build towards a finale. You have voiceovers that can remain the same, and then you have storylines that go beat by beat. So robot dinosaurs discover ancient map inside a cave. They meet the character that's going to first start their adventure, and then they start to navigate the jungle, encountering animals who guide them on their treasure hunt. So see, you have the overall prompt, and then you have the individual prompts. All right, there's tons more features and examples I'm going to show off about LTX Studios in the future, but for now, there's a link below if you want to try it out. Thank you for sponsoring this video. All right, next up, let's talk about some rock climbing artificial intelligence. This is one of those things that I would have never thought about, but once I thought about it, I was like, what an innovative way to apply machine learning. Researchers at the University of New Hampshire have developed a new machine learning-based system to standardize rock climbing route difficulty. I've never thought about this before, but I guess in the rock climbing world, you have, you know, countless ways that you can climb a rock, and you should think, oh, that one's medium, that one's like very hard, like skiing. They should be like diamonds, black diamonds, you know, squares, circles. So now AI can do that because rock faces are really complicated and there's no way to standardize that. The world we live in, I guess, is increasingly inconsistent, especially in commercial gyms. But now this new route-centric approach that uses natural language processing provided the most accurate difficulty ratings, achieving an 84.7% accuracy in outlining how hard it is to climb and scale a rock face, just by analyzing route features such as hold types and movement sequences. And this method could lead to a future that we could all live in where there is no more grading bias in rock climbing. AI-driven grading systems, the future. All right, this is Video Jam. It is a new framework that shows how the generators of today deal with motion, how they struggle with it, and how that can be overcome. And wildly, this is actually overcoming the problem without a whole bunch of extra data or scaling, and that means it's an architectural change, and that means that it's doable and implementable on today's systems. So look for this framework to get implemented into all of the major systems, Sora, Kling, VO, etc. So the way Video Jam works is it actually modifies the training process of video to predict both pixel appearance and motion dynamics. And it introduces a new, I would call it like component of the architecture that's called inner guidance. And it's like its own little AI system that is learning. It's a mechanism to steer the model during inference. And then it just refines its predictions to maintain a coherent motion, so it doesn't actually need any additional training data. It doesn't increase the model size, and it outperforms the existing models, so I think you're going to see this implemented everywhere. NASA is definitely getting into the AI and machine learning game, and as they should, because the extraterrestrial landers that we're sending to gather samples of other planets and moons needs to be very efficient. The batteries on those systems are very important. They are very hard to recharge, so they need to maximize everything that they do. So they have invented a new AI model that helps robotic landers scoop materials more efficiently on extraterrestrial surfaces. All right, so the new model has been tested, and what it does is it looks at these unfamiliar terrains without any prior exposure to them, and it's learning from trial and error in real time the best way to scoop up the material. Because remember, we don't exactly know what we're going to get. Like, we don't know how hard it's going to be or what the scoop is going to require. So the system is able to distinguish between scoopable and non-scoopable material right there on the fly, adjust accordingly. And it's a demonstration of the potential for using autonomous space exploration vehicles in the future. And interestingly, they're even working on a component where the scooper itself could be 3D printed. So imagine that. You can try to scoop and be like, nope, this is the wrong scooper, but here's the scooper I need, print it out, attach it, and then get the sample. All right, if you would like a more reliable cell phone network, which I don't know anybody who wouldn't, there is an AI model for you now. Researchers have now developed an AI-powered method to improve the reliability of next-generation wireless networks, particularly those in fast-moving environments. So when you're speeding around in an airplane or a fast car, that 5G, like tower jumping, is not keeping up with you. Well, they decided to look into the relays on these millimeter wave technologies. Those are those massive antenna systems which require precise real-time information about the wireless connection that brings you the internet currently to learn and adapt to signal conditions known as the channel aging effect. And that is what is often the culprit and causes connection disruptions. So to tackle this, the team introduced a transformer-assisted parametric CSI feedback system which focuses on key signal parameters, angles, delays, strengths. These AI systems are learning it all. And this system will automatically counter for the motion that you're traveling in, offset all of those variables, and instead of creating errors, it can time it so that it reduces errors and improves data reliability. So kind of exciting stuff. The researchers are claiming that this could enhance internet connectivity for passengers on high-speed trains, satellite communications in remote areas, and it could support emerging technologies like vehicle-to-everything networks. And imagine all the drones that are going to be flying around in the skies of our near future. It's just like zipping around, and all that information needs to be connected to all these cell towers. An AI system like this might just improve reliability and make all of that more possible. All right, Los Alamos, the famous research institute, the national lab of the United States. It is the new center for an OpenAI O1 model. It will be tackling disease, high energy physics, and nuclear security. I kid you not. The Microsoft-backed AI maker today announced that the U.S. National Lab partnership will deploy the O1 reasoning capabilities at Los Alamos National Laboratory. There is a computer. It is a super duper supercomputer called the Venado supercomputer, and it is an NVIDIA-powered beast of a machine. And it is designed for artificial intelligent workloads. And OpenAI is planning to put its new model on this supercomputer to supercharge various scientific breakthroughs. So the model will support research in disease treatment, high energy physics, and nuclear security. And yeah, it will be dealing with some nuclear aspects. So it is aiming to enhance nuclear security and prevent global threats. Now, of course, OpenAI emphasized the strict AI safety measures that they're putting in place, citing past collaborations on bioscience risks. And of course, we talked about it last week, OpenAI has launched a new ChatGPT Gov version that runs on Microsoft Cloud. So the model will support research in disease treatment, high energy physics, and nuclear security. And yeah, it will be dealing with some nuclear aspects. So it is aiming to enhance nuclear security and prevent global threats. Now, of course, OpenAI emphasized the strict AI safety measures that they're putting in place, citing past collaborations on bioscience risks. And of course, we talked about it last week, OpenAI has launched a new ChatGPT Gov version that runs on Microsoft Cloud. But it's hard not to think about the opening scene from the AI movie The Creator. So we've heard Elon Musk talking about how Tesla's robot ambitions will far outpace everything they're doing with cars and semi-trucks. And Cleaner Watt uploaded a video that talks about $12 trillion in revenue. And I was trying to just get my head around, is that possible? Do I believe it? Would it make sense that there's a lot more humanoid robots than there are cars in the world? And would Tesla be leading the way? Maybe. But 10 trillion in revenue is like more revenue than any company has ever made before. But also these things are growing exponentially. There's compounding effects. Tesla does have a pretty good head start. They do have real world robotics. But a couple of things he did say that sort of got me thinking was that he believes that Optimus will require about 10 times the amount of effort as Tesla's full self-driving system. I drive a Tesla. I have it in full self-driving mode all the time. I'm really impressed with it. It feels like it's kind of getting there to where I could trust it in the future. But you know, that last 10% sometimes is much harder than the first 90%. And of course, a real robot in our house with all of the intricacy of the joints and just moving around the house environment does seem a bit harder than a car. 10 times harder, maybe. Also, the training data from the millions of vehicles that Tesla already has out there for the cars is not completely one-to-one, for which you need a lot of training data from those like kind of form factors to train something like this, barring the fact that there is a lot of simulation stuff we can do now that we really couldn't do in the past. But right now, Optimus is still in its early stages, so you need teleoperation to get a lot of that data. The factory isn't really built yet to produce these at mass scale, even though they're thinking that way. So Musk is still envisioning a massive production ramp up, aiming for thousands of units this year and potentially scaling to millions in the near future. Another interesting thing is Tesla's going to first be using all of these robots internally. So first, he's going to kind of like replace and augment his own workforce. So it should be humanoid robots working alongside manufacturing robots to actually produce Tesla cars in the future. And you can imagine how once that scales, you're just like, boy, here, just take my money and just build many, many more of these things. And you can scale faster than any car company ever has in the history of the world. But all of that said, Musk is highly optimistic about Optimus's potential, estimating that it could generate over $10 trillion in revenue long term. And while it may take time to perfect, Tesla's expertise in AI and manufacturing puts them in a strong position to lead the humanoid robotics space. I can't argue. You know what I mean? Microsoft and some of these other AI companies are doing a great job. But yeah, I mean, the best thing it feels like Tesla's ever created was the Gigafactory. That is the product of all products. It is the product that makes all of the other products. If the Gigafactory is on an evolutionary cycle to eventually produce these Optimus robots at a pace no one else is, and there's already all of this like install base with Teslas where people have the power block and then the car, and then they want to add on the robot and the infrastructure to like repair these things, the robotaxi network. Yeah, they might all come together in a way that just no other company in the world could. I don't know. Amazon might actually have a pretty good run at this too if they got their cards right. You can imagine a robotic workforce kind of taking over deliveries. And then humanoid robots, maybe some data from like the Ring doorbell system. I don't know. They might have, there might be something there too. But I don't know. I just don't know who else could do it. I mean, Apple, like maybe. Microsoft, Google, and OpenAI just seem like too software based right now. It just seems hard to imagine them scaling up the infrastructure the way Amazon and Tesla have. But maybe if they partnered with like Costco or Walmart. I don't know. We'll have to see how this all plays out. All right. This might be the greatest video on the internet of 2025. Bobby Ivar uploaded this. I spent 1 year remaking Super Mario World 3D. And it just got me thinking about how artificial intelligence and virtual reality are going to come into the future. And the creativity with the tools that we're about to have will allow us to just reimagine so many nostalgic things. Not just like Rome and the Wild West, we can also just take actual things from our childhood and reinvent them. And this is taking a 2D side scroller and turning it into a 3D video game. And it is really fun to watch. Now it's painstaking. This guy spent a year doing this, and he obviously has a lot of skill, a lot of dedication, but that will become easier and easier. I do think in the future, we're going to be able to pop in like Atari games or Nintendo games or Super Nintendo games and put on VR headsets and just use AI and say, make this 3D VR and re-experience all of these things. And look at that. He even has the 3D Mario watching the 2D Mario video game. But boom, off you go. Look, he even made those big bullet things. That's so crazy. All right, let's talk about the Aurora Borealis, solar storms, artificial intelligence. It's all coming together. All right, so some scientists have thought, why not use artificial intelligence to predict when solar storms are going to hit Earth? Because we could probably use AI to do that, and that would prevent disruptions like satellites, power grids, and other types of communications going offline. So that's what they did. In a recent study, they trained machine learning models on decades of solar activity, and it was able to successfully predict the intense May 2024 solar storm with unprecedented accuracy. I had no idea about this, but that's so cool that it predicted that ahead of time. Now, these storms are caused by something called coronal mass injections. That means they send these like massive bursts of plasma towards Earth. They're like kind of bubbling and popping off the sun. And sometimes they're just at the unfortunate for us angle where it comes right towards Earth. And when it does do that, it can trigger a geomagnetic storm. And that does lead to stunning aurora borealises that look beautiful, but they're also potentially really damaging. Of course, traditional methods have struggled with accuracy, but AI's ability to detect complex patterns is proving to be a game changer in space weather forecasting. All right, so what do you think about these new generated videos? They are coming hot off the press. ByteDance has launched Omni Human 1, a paper called Rethinking the Scaling Up of One-Stage Conditioned Human Animation Models. Before I explain the technical stuff behind it, let me just show you what this broccoli guy can look and sound like.
Oh, hey, 你们是怎么发现我的？虽然我知道这样说有点不合适，但是为了你们的健康着想，希望你们记得多吃蔬菜。
And it's not just talking broccoli, there's also talking humans. All right, here's an AI-generated example of what it might be like to be in a lecture with Einstein, although the world would still be in black and white, but you know what I mean.
Like without emotions, they would be empty of values. So a famous classical poet said, "We hate and we love. Can one tell me why?" Catullus.
Maybe they got the accent wrong, but it looks pretty realistic. So Omni 1 is what it says it is, an ultra-realistic animation that comes from just a single image. And then you can pair it up with motion signals that either come from audio or video. And it's unique in the fact that it was trained in a multimodal training strategy, which allows it to generate lifelike human movements, gestures, and expressions across various body proportions and aspect ratios. The model can mimic specific video actions and combine audio and video inputs for more detailed motion controls. And at the bottom of the paper, they say there is no place to actually use this. So anywhere where you hear people saying, oh, you can use Omni Human 1, at least as of today, is not true. Those are other models masquerading. So this example I thought was particularly challenging because from a single image, it did have to animate her fingers and hands in a way that made the guitar realistic. I mean, obviously there's something unhuman about it still, but it does maybe seem best in class from anything I've seen. Like the fingers do seem to move to chords a little bit while she's singing, and I don't know. I mean, this is pretty impressive stuff from where we were just last year. Okay, I want to give you this TLDR from the CEO of Suno, who was asked why they built their entire infrastructure around the transformer model and not the diffusion model. And I never really thought about this, but if you think about how an image diffuses, it sort of looks like static and it kind of like increments over and over again until it's a beautiful image. And then you think about something like ChatGPT where you're getting like one token predicted at a time, more like a sequential thing. Or do you think something piece by piece that actually like steps each note or each moment in a sound wave together and stitches it into a song would sound better? And it turns out you can build like a big infrastructure, a big company around either model, and they both sound pretty good. And he talks about that you get just simply more interesting music when you do it more in the autoregressive model, if you do it bit by bit, token by token. So it does, I guess it kind of makes sense. Like music is a bit more rhythmic in the sense that it's like, you know, there's repetitive drum beats, there's kind of patterns to it. So yeah, maybe it seems like kind of the storyline of the song is a little bit deeper in the core of a transformer model than it would be in a diffusion model. But yeah, just something that resonated with me that I wanted to share with you. Found it really interesting. All right, another interesting thing posted on LinkedIn by Ken Mandel. He poses this question about what is it going to be like when marketing is mostly AI agents? For you or me or a company that actually wants to advertise, it will be about persuading the AI agents to go out there and persuade the customer. So if you think about it, it's going to be so different. Like you have to convince the agent to take your idea and go convince others, which is just so different than buying an advertisement like on a billboard or on Facebook and then hiring a marketing team to try to build something that will convince people to do something. So here he highlights the $1 trillion question. If AI agents like Operator from OpenAI or Meta, Google, Amazon interact with the brands instead of the humans, who are the ads for? Today, humans see and interact with ads, but in the future, AI agents filter everything. They see the ads, not the humans. This bypasses traditional advertising entirely. So if an AI chooses your Coke order, not a human, then why bid for impressions on Instagram? Okay, so imagine there's this in-between layer. There's robots, there's bots, there's agents that are on social networks. They're the ones that are like digesting the internet and deciding and triggering what goes viral or communicating with the actual humans who are watching them. There's this whole world of in-between agents, and there might be layers on layers on layers of them. So he's arguing that brands need to shift from AI ads to AI influence. So he argues that in the world where agents, not humans, interact with brands, the game shifts from advertising to AI influence and optimization. So a new battleground emerges. AI optimization. Brands must, quote, train AI agents to prefer their product in natural decision-making situations. Reputation and trust signals need to be the primary focus because AI agents will prioritize trusted brands, reputation, verified reviews, and sustainability metrics may replace ad targeting. And he asks us to imagine that Google Ads morphs into something that's more like Google Ad preference bidding. And this would be where brands are bidding to be the preferred suggestion when an AI agent is shopping for users. And real media networks stop serving display ads and instead they sell real-time AI commerce integration. I mean, he's probably right. I mean, that seems to be the inevitable future that we go to. It just completely reshapes the way I would even think about building a marketing company. Maybe not today, or maybe not even in the next couple of years, but in the long run. All right, now let's talk about our memory and if it's going to survive this world of AI. I've been a little pessimistic about it before. I felt like my own memory is kind of like I'm relying on ChatGPT a bit too much these days. But also, maybe it's just changing. Maybe I'm just learning to adapt to a new world. I don't know. So let's go to Nature, one of the top review journals in the world. Are the internet and AI affecting our memory? What the science says. Search engines, GPS maps, and other tech can alter our ability to learn and remember. Now scientists are working on what AI might do. All right, so what we're getting at here is a term called cognitive offloading. It's just like, the hard stuff we throw somewhere else so that our brains can kind of be on easy mode all the time. That's not so bad. You don't have to have a ton of stuff memorized. If you do have critical thinking skills, if you do have first principles thinking, some logical frameworks to build off of, if you have kind of emotional that you can bring teams together to build things. But some of these studies specific to AI are suggesting that it weakens our memory for specific tasks like navigation. But there's no solid proof that our overall memory is declining. AI, particularly chatbots and generative models, could take this further by making people overconfident in their knowledge because we just become so dependent that we have everything we could ever need in ChatGPT. That we also lose some of the memories about our memories. Basically, they're arguing that you could eventually have a lot of false memories, sort of inception-y stuff where you've been relying on facts that come sort of out of the ether on ChatGPT for so long that they're not grounded in reality. They're not kind of set up in your brain in a linear way in the same way. But despite these concerns, researchers argue that using external tools for memory is nothing new. It's actually nothing we need to get too worried about. People have always relied on writing and books, digital devices, and stored information. So the key question is how AI will reshape not just what we remember, but how we think and learn. If you want to support this channel, hit me up, patreon.com/DylanCurious, or go to today's sponsor. Lightrix makes an awesome tool called LTX Studio. We will keep talking about that in the future. My videos seem to be on a roller coaster of views recently. It's 6,000, then less than 3,000, then 6,000, then 10, then 4. I don't know, man. I don't know why I'm all over the place with these videos. You'd think my content's kind of similar. I mean, AI news is changing all the time. I mean, the retention was pretty good. Honestly, 30% of people made it to the 30-minute mark. That's awesome. Now, I have done better with the female audience before, when I got to 3%, but that's not the worst I've had either. My 18 to 24-year-olds at 0, that's about as bad as it gets. But we got some really fun comments for our Suno song today. This should make a good lyric. One of the analytics I'd like to hear about at the end of the video is, quote, at which timestamp do people like? And the answer for that would probably be where the unusually high spikes are. I would argue this moment, when I played the companion official trailer, was the peak of the last video. Maybe the timestamp is Stolen Robot's Journey Home. Bro's making good informative videos, still not getting views. I mean, I could always use more, but I'm getting some. And if lab-grown eggs and sperm become safe and widely available, maybe declining birth rates will be a thing of the past. That sounds like the lyrics for yodeling with a little bit of accordion. And here are some animal fruit hybrids to watch while you listen to my song.
One of the analytics I'd like to hear about at the end of videos is at which timestamp do people expose making such a good informative video still not getting views. If lab-grown eggs and sperm become safe and widely available, maybe declining birth rates will be a thing of the past. To be a fine landscape sonata still not getting views.
All right, hit subscribe. Share this. This is a great song.